Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington prediction. This is the main event of UFC 296, the last pay-per-view of the year, guys. And I want to get this one right, man, because I have a pay-per-view main event curse. Last pay-per-view, I picked Yuri Prohaska. The one before that, I picked Volkanovski. I knew that I was gambling when I picked Volkanovski. I knew that was going to be a tough fight, but I honestly did believe that Volkanovski had a good chance of beating Islam. In hindsight, it was a stupid pick. And then prior to that, I did pick Israel Adesanya to beat Sean Strickland. That was like, nobody shits on anybody for that prediction because, I don't think, I think most people picked Israel Adesanya to beat Sean Strickland. So that was a big surprise. Prior to that, UFC 292, Sean O'Malley versus Aljamain Sterling. I did pick Aljamain Sterling, even though I did have a feeling that Sean O'Malley was going to be able to pull it off. So when it comes to pay-per-view main events, it hasn't been too good for Based MMA. I mean, when it comes to the fight nights, I did do pretty good. And I mean, last weekend at UFC Austin, it was pretty good besides the Kelvin Gastelum versus Sean Brady fight and the... What's the other fight? Davidson Figueiredo versus Rob Font. I mean, those were shockers to me. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was going to be able to win that fight. Same with Rob Font, but it is what it is. I did pick Armin Tsarukyan to beat Beneil Dariush, and I warned a lot of people that were picking Beneil Dariush that they were not doing I think they were judging with their emotion, and I don't think they actually did the tape study, because if you go back and rewatch Armin Tsarukyan and you go back and rewatch Beneil Dariush, you would see that the speed discrepancy is way too wide and that Armin Tsarukyan was most likely going to win on the feet, even though a lot of people were underrating his power. I just thought speed, precision goes to Armin Tsarukyan, and Beneil Dariush is not a guy that typically dominates on the feet, even though he does have power, but coming, you know what I'm saying? So let's get started with Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, guys. And this is a fight that is very interesting for many reasons. I mean, I've been going back and forth on this fight. When this fight first got announced, I picked Leon Edwards very confidently. I was like, Leon Edwards, he's in his prime, coming off those 2 wins over Kamaru Usman. He's going to have all the confidence in the world. I think he's getting better with his striking. I think he's a lot more confident, even though I don't think he has a lot of power in his hands, nor do I think and I think that his fights are incredibly boring, to be totally honest with you guys, especially on rewatch. I still think he's a very technical, very talented fighter. And I was picking him against Colby Covington, and then Colby Covington, I think everybody's going to mention the fact that he hasn't fought in over 2 years, which could be a good thing and a bad thing, man. It could be a good thing because he's able to recover and he's able to improve his skills. But the problem with Colby Covington taking such a time off that I think people are not mentioning is that, like, for example, when you're a 20-year-old fighter and you take like a year off to really improve your skills, I think that's when a year off, like for example, Paddy Pimblett, he might come into this fight a little bit better now that he's taking some time off to, fix those injuries and recover from anything. As far as we know, Colby Covington wasn't suffering from any injuries besides, Masvidal jumping him. And I think he suffered from a broken tooth and maybe a head injury. So I kind of understood why he didn't fight mid 2022. But besides that, I mean, we really haven't heard of Colby Covington having any injuries. He pretty much went silent. I mean, there was no Colby Covington interviews for the past year up until the Leon Edwards vs. Kamaru Usman trilogy, where Colby Covington showed up out of nowhere at the weigh-ins as a backup fighter for that fight. And we're like, all shocked, right? Because we kind of assumed that kind of meant that he was most likely going to fight for the title next. And I thought that if Kamaru Usman was going to be, if Usman would have beaten Leon Edwards in the trilogy, I think the chances of Colby Covington for the title diminished, especially because Kamaru Usman has 2 wins over Colby Covington. But I knew that if Leon Edwards was going to beat Kamaru Usman in the trilogy, that it was very likely that Colby Covington was most likely going to fight for the title next. And that's exactly what happened. But, a lot of people are going to bring up the fact that Colby Covington is inactive. And I think that does play a role here. And let's talk about the fight stylistically, because it's a very interesting fight. I mean, Leon Edwards is 6 feet tall, Colby Covington is 5'11". I don't think he's 5'11". I think he's like 5'10", 5'9", to be totally honest. Leon Edwards has a 74-inch reach. Colby Covington 72-inch reach. So not that big of a reach advantage for Leon Edwards. Leg reach, they're about the same. Obviously, Leon Edwards fights out of England, born in Jamaica. Colby Covington out of the United States. Both these guys are coming off wins. Leon Edwards is coming off his win against Kamaru Usman, the trilogy, where he won a clear decision. Colby Covington is coming off just pretty much dominating Jorge Masvidal in his last fight. And I think this fight, I'm honestly very surprised on how many people are actually picking Colby Covington to win this fight, guys. I'm actually pretty surprised because I thought that Leon Edwards was going to be the clear favorite. And I've seen a lot of people pick Colby Covington. And the people that are picking Colby Covington, I do believe are picking Colby Covington for good reasons. Because if you think about the fight stylistically, I mean, Colby Covington has relentless pace, relentless cardio. And even though he doesn't have a lot of power in his hands, he's able to mix it up pretty well. He throws pretty good uppercuts. He also has pretty good leg kicks as well. I feel like people don't talk about it. I mean, he doesn't kick the legs, but he has good body kicks, good head kicks as well. Maybe not as technical and as skilled as someone like Leon Edwards, who's a little bit more athletic. But Colby Covington, he's not a fish out of water on the feet. And the thing about Colby Covington that makes him so overwhelming for a lot of guys is the amount of pressure he puts on guys, the pace, the volume. And he's not a type of fighter that only puts a volume in round one. I mean, he could do that from round one to round five, which makes him very dangerous, right? Because one of the biggest things that most fighters fear when they're in the octagon is getting tired, and Colby Covington is literally the definition of that. He's the definition of he's the guy that gets all these guys tired, and I think that Leon Edwards has shown that he can be broken. And even though a lot of people do blame the fact that Leon Edwards got dominated by Kamaru Usman in that rematch due to the elevation, I do think that Colby Covington does have a path to be able to do that against someone Leon Edwards. The one thing that I will say about Colby Covington is when he had the time off between Tyron Woodley and his Kamaru Usman rematch, what I think was about a year, Colby Covington was more hesitant on the feet in the first two rounds. And I think if he shows up the same way where he's a little bit more hesitant in those early rounds, I think he's going to lose this fight for sure, guys. Because if Colby Covington is not able to put the pressure on Leon Edwards, if he has trouble closing in on the distance, if Leon Edwards is able to manage his distance pretty well in those early rounds, I think it's going to be very hard for Colby Covington to be able to do something in the later rounds if Leon Edwards isn't necessarily tired. So it is an interesting fight in the fact that I think Colby Covington needs to put the pressure on early. Leon Edwards also needs to watch out for not getting taken down in those early rounds. And Leon Edwards needs to establish the distance, land those body kicks, make Colby Covington worry about what's coming his ways. And I think something that people are not bringing up is that Leon Edwards has really good knees and really good elbows that were very effective against Kamaru Usman in the trilogy. And that's one thing I noticed on rewatch. I mean, Leon Edwards had a lot of success against Kamaru Usman. I do think Kamaru Usman does fight in the unorthodox stance, which kind of gave him a disadvantage against Leon Edwards because Leon Edwards was landing that straight left a lot of times, landing nasty elbows when they were separating from the clinch or anything like that. So Colby Covington needs to be very aware of when he's closing in the distance on Leon Edwards, somebody who's a lot taller than him. I think he's a little bit stronger than Colby Covington as well. Leon Edwards is going to be very dangerous with those knees, and if Colby Covington shoots for a lazy takedown or anything like that, Leon Edwards could catch him with a knee. I think even if they break off the clinch, a nasty elbow I could see kind of hurting Colby Covington, maybe dropping him. And ultimately, I am going to go with Leon Edwards, guys. I am going to go with Leon Edwards, and I do want Colby Covington to win. The reason why I'm picking Leon Edwards ultimately is because I think a lot of people are assuming that Colby Covington is going to do to Leon Edwards what he was able to do to Jorge Masvidal. And I think the reason why Colby Covington is not going to be able to control Leon Edwards the way he was able to control Jorge Masvidal is because I think Leon Edwards is tall, he's strong, he's coming off those 2 wins against Kamaru Usman, and even though in the rematch he looked absolutely terrible, if you go back and rewatch the trilogy, I mean, it's not a very exciting fight. Leon Edwards did a very good job of defending, and even when he got taken down, he did a good job of getting back to his feet. And I think I think Colby Covington might struggle to take Leon Edwards down, even if he's able to get him against the fence. And I think that in one of those exchanges, Leon Edwards is going to be able to stuff the takedown, and then he's going to catch Colby Covington with an elbow or a knee that's really going to hurt Colby Covington and drop him. And I that's kind of what I'm visualizing now when I think of the fight. I think Colby Covington, sometimes he lunges in to close the distance, and if he's not careful, I think Leon Edwards could catch him. And even though Leon Edwards doesn't have a lot of power, man, he's not this knockout artist. He's not Sean O'Malley. He's still very technical, and I do think he's able to hurt guys. And we've seen that Colby Covington has been dropped in his last couple of fights. He got dropped against Jorge Masvidal. He got dropped against Kamaru Usman like 2 times in the rematch. Obviously, I don't think he did not get dropped against Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley was pretty washed in that fight. But what I'm trying to say is that even when Colby Covington is winning the fight, for example, the Jorge Masvidal, we've seen that he's still able to get chin. And if Leon Edwards is not gassed by the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, Colby Covington is going to have such a hard time, man. So I do think that if Colby Covington is going to win this fight, he needs to be perfect for 5 rounds. He needs to put the pace on Leon Edwards early. He needs to be able to put Leon Edwards against the cage. And I think he might be able to do that. The reason why is because the thing that I noticed in Leon Edwards' fights is that he's typically the guy on the back foot. And he's even in the Nate Diaz fight, a fight that he won pretty comfortably, he was still circling around the cage. And I don't know if that's a good idea against someone like Colby Covington, because even though Colby Covington doesn't have a lot of power in his hands, if he throws a lot of combinations that Leon Edwards doesn't see coming, Colby Covington is going to be able to grab the leg and start to work his takedowns in. So I think that Leon Edwards needs to be very careful of circling around the cage, because if he falls into that pattern too much, he's going to be able, Colby Covington is going to be able to work his takedowns. And even if Colby Covington isn't necessarily able to complete the takedown, he's still going to waste a lot of the rounds landing punches on Leon Edwards against the fence. He's going to be able to steal the rounds that way. Now, the problem with Colby Covington is that he doesn't have any finishing ability. That's what I'm saying, which I think if Colby Covington ends up winning that fight, it has to be like a 5-round war, a 5-round domination like the one he put on Jorge Masvidal. And I just don't really see that. I really don't see that. I think Leon Edwards is very strong, very tall for this division. Rewatching that Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards trilogy, I was just like, wow, Leon Edwards is a big guy. I mean, he makes Kamaru Usman look kind of small in there. And then when you watch Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman looks a little bit bigger than Colby Covington. They're about the same height, but just in size, Colby Covington is kind of small for this division. So I think the size and the height is gonna play to the advantage of Leon Edwards. And I think that he is getting a lot better, guys. He is getting a lot better. And even though I think stylistically he's kind of boring to watch, he isn't like this exciting striker, I think that he's going to be able to defend the takedowns. I think the only thing that Leon Edwards really needs to worry about is him circling around the cage and his gas tank. If he comes into this fight out of shape, he's going to lose this fight. If Leon Edwards, he has a bad night like he had in Salt Lake City, Utah, I think he's going to have a harder time finding the KO on Colby Covington, because Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, even though people like to compare them because they're both grapplers, they have different types of grappling. Like Kamaru Usman is more of a strength kind of grappler where he takes you down, gets in top control, starts landing ground and pound shots, where Colby Covington, he kind of drowns you. He does go for submissions and stuff like that. So if Leon Edwards gives up his back, I think Colby Covington might be able to get a submission here as well. So clearly, by what I'm saying, it's a very 50-50 fight. It's a very 50-50 fight. Flip a coin. When it comes stylistically, I do think Colby Covington has a chance to win, but I have to consider all those outside factors when it comes to this prediction. I think Leon Edwards, the younger fighter, the fighter who's in his prime, he's going to come in with a lot of confidence coming off those 2 Kamaru Usman wins. I think that when it came to the feet, Leon Edwards had to be worried about Kamaru Usman's jab and right hand. And Kamaru Usman was able to land those punches on Leon Edwards, but Leon Edwards was never dropped. I mean, he was never dropped the way Colby Covington was or the way Jorge Masvidal was. So I think Leon Edwards, he's so good on the feet. He has good distance management. And I think if he's able to break Colby Covington's legs down and land body kicks and land a lot of leg kicks. And Colby Covington has shown that he doesn't really check leg kicks, even in the Jorge Masvidal fight. I think Leon Edwards is going to have a field day, because if Leon Edwards is able to establish the range in those first 2 rounds and just kick Colby Covington to smithereens, leg kick, maybe throw a head kick, so he has to be worried about the head kick as well. And even in close distance, Colby Covington needs to be aware, hesitant. He needs to be aware of the elbows coming his way and the knees that Leon Edwards throws, because we've even seen that Colby Covington sometimes he ducks his head to lunge in. So I could see maybe Leon Edwards grabbing his head and landing knees and stuff like that. So I just think on the feet, Leon Edwards is a lot more superior. And I think Colby Covington is going to have to take a lot of risk. And even if he's able to close the distance on Leon Edwards, I think Leon Edwards is going to be able to stuff the takedowns, reverse the position, or get back up to his feet. He's not a fish out of water down there. Leon Edwards is a very well-rounded fighter. But I do think that this is going to be a different stylistic matchup than the fight we saw with Kamaru Usman. And like I said, I think if Leon Edwards shows up out of shape in this fight, he's absolutely going to lose this fight. So Leon Edwards needs to be on point on this fight. He needs to take Colby Covington very seriously. And I will not be surprised if Colby Covington wins. I actually want the guy to win. I really want the guy to win. And, you know, these last couple of days, I was going to switch to Colby Covington, but I just thought about, I tried to visualize the fight, and I just saw moments that Leon Edwards is going to have where he's going to hurt Colby on the feet at some point. And if Leon Edwards is not gassed, like Jorge Masvidal was when he dropped Colby Covington, I think Leon Edwards is going to be able to finish him in the 3rd or 4th round. And ultimately, guys, I am going to go with Leon Edwards to win this fight. I could see him winning a decision or also finishing Colby Covington, because Colby Covington is 35 years old. And even though I think that's a little bit overstated, because Colby Covington hasn't taken that much damage in his career. I know he's been dropped by Kamaru Usman, even Jorge Masvidal, but he won pretty comfortably against Jorge Masvidal. And ultimately, the reason I'm going with Leon Edwards is because I just think he has more of a finishing threat. I think he's in his prime, and I think his striking is just levels above Colby Covington. The one thing I will say about Leon Edwards that I just remembered, when I rewatched his Nate Diaz fight, and the one thing that I didn't like about Leon Edwards is when he's winning comfortably, he does tend to coast, and he lets his foot off the gas, and I don't like that. I really don't like that, because as a fighter, you need to try to get that fighter out of there. So I could see a situation where maybe Leon Edwards gets comfortable in those first 2 rounds. Maybe, you know, lands a lot of leg kicks, is able to, you know, hit Colby Covington, closing the distance. Colby Covington is not having a lot of success. And then Leon Edwards starts to coast, and I could see Colby Covington growing in the fight and just getting his confidence, maybe like that Kamaru Usman rematch. And that's where I could see Colby Covington having a chance. So I think Leon Edwards needs to go in there like he went in against Bilal Muhammad and just try to like put the damage on Colby Covington. Don't let Colby Covington pressure. Make sure you establish the distance. I think the body kicks, the leg kicks are going to give Colby Covington a lot of problems. And we really haven't seen Colby Covington check leg kicks. And a lot of you guys brought up in my last video about why we should be worried about Colby Covington, that Colby Covington is now a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's like, yeah, like that might come handy here, but like I'm not going to make a pick based on the guy getting a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to go back and base my prediction based on his past performances. And like I said, I just think I have to go with Leon Edwards here. I think that it's a very close fight, but I think Leon Edwards has shown that he's improving. I think that he showed in the Kamaru Usman trilogy that he was able to improve in those small details. For example, his takedown defense, even though he did cheat a lot, which I did not like. He grabbed the fence, and they probably should have given Kamaru Usman the position. He also landed like 2 nut shots. So he grabbed Kamaru Usman's glove. So Leon Edwards is a fucking cheater. So Colby Covington needs to watch out for that. And I just think that I think Kamaru Usman is stronger than Colby Covington, even though Colby Covington might be better technically with his takedowns, his submissions. I think that the strength discrepancy is a lot wider than Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, which is why I don't think Colby Covington is going to have that much success. I mean, think about the guys that Colby Covington has been taking down. Jorge Masvidal, I mean, he really wasn't able to take down Kamaru Usman. I guess he landed like this takedown in the rematch. But besides that, like, I don't know, man. I just think Leon Edwards is very dangerous on the feet. And even though he's not a knockout artist, I do think that the fact that he's coming off those two Kamaru Usman wins is really going to help him against Leon Edwards. If he was coming off a striker matchup, then maybe I would think Colby Covington has a really good chance of winning this fight. If Colby Covington was a little more active and maybe had fought earlier this year against like a Bilal Muhammad or somebody like that, and Colby Covington would have won that fight, I think I would have picked him to win this fight a little more comfortably. But because of that, I have to go with Leon Edwards, and I think he's going to be able to get the finish, if not win a decision here, guys. And I'm sorry, because I am based MMA and I am a big Colby Covington fan, but I have to keep it objective, guys, and I am going to go with Leon Edwards to win this fight by a knockout or decision. If it is a knockout, I could see him maybe hurting Colby Covington with a knee up the middle, or maybe an elbow when they break off the clinch, break up their exchange near the fence. I could see that happening, guys. But anyway, I am going to go with Leon Edwards, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the prediction. Let me know who you're picking for the main event. I will be dropping my full card for UFC 296 maybe tomorrow or the day after that. So please stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.